Welcome back. Here we are. Final major of the season. The Open Championship. At Jazz Raz DFS has been Rasa at Shander Show for me. We appreciate you here on Putting for Dough. You're watching on YouTube. Thumbs up, subscribe as we hit this 100K mark, Ben, to the NFL and college football season. We're also available on podcast. That's right, audio form. Nothing better than killing a 20, 25-minute drive listening to us about the guys who are going to nail their drives overseas. See how that works? See how that works?
Bad.
Ben, you look rested. You look refreshed. Back from vacation. How you feeling, man?
I feel good. Yeah, I took a vacation from the grind of betting, and doing this every day. So where did I go? I went to Saratoga, to the casino, and to the track. But no, it was good. Got up there. I'm back. I'm excited. I love the Open. It's my favorite tournament of the year. Yes, there is weather. Yes, there is stupid stuff that you can't predict, but it's also just awesome. And I couldn't be more excited to talk Royal Liverpool and this field in general.
Absolutely. And you mentioned where we are, Royal Liverpool. This is probably one of the easier tracks, if it's calm, that you'll find across the stretch of Open Championship courses. But as Ben, you mentioned, you didn't even allude to it. Like you mentioned, crazy stuff happens here. In fact, there's a par 3. They moved this par 3 just to give you a glimpse of how Royal Liverpool can play out depending on the conditions. There's a par 3 that's going to play like 137 or so from the tee box. Depending on the wind, your pitching wedge to probably a 5-iron as far as the range of what you could be hitting. So at any given moment, the wind can just derail an entire round.
Yeah, this is the tricky part. So a couple of things. The Open, one of the wildest and coolest things is they don't split their tees. So you have guys that are done like 4 hours before other guys even tee off. It's crazy how long the day is over there. That means that you could play a course and you go in and you see your buddy and you talk about the conditions and he says, what course were you playing? Because when I was playing, it was 50-mile-an-hour winds. And when you were playing, it was sunny. That's just the nature of the beast. If there is no wind, I think it's pretty clear that the only defense most of the courses over in this part of the world have is weather. They're not long enough. Even though this has some distance, these guys will overpower this. It looks like it's going to play. They did get some rain. So I think driver, as we start to creep into building out the card, I think off the tee and distance and things of that nature will come into play here. Maybe a little more than if it was burnt out to a crisp.
I think you're right. They also it looks like they've lengthened this to kind of prevent, right, the Tiger and the Rory. We've seen guys win without using their driver. And Rory was smashing when he hit the driver. So I think what they've done, and look, you mentioned too, as far as course defense, and we'll start building, look at the top guys here right away. But last real point that I would bring to you about Royal Liverpool here is you are going to see off the tee, you are going to see either hazard or just inside internal OB, they call it, right? Like out of bounds for whatever the reason is inside the actual hole, as opposed to just hitting it far right or left. And that is not necessarily a defense, Ben, but it's a strategy. It's like, okay, are you going to try and clear this bunker? Or are you going to lay up? And I think the lengthening of the course and those kind of aggressive plays are going to force some more people to hit the driver, as you mentioned.
I think so too. We're going to have to anticipate some of these and we're going to have to guess right. That is the key to the Open Championship, is predicting, what kind of conditions are these guys going to face. But the one thing we do know, you've got Rory, you've got Scheffler, you've got Rahm, but I do think this is worth pointing out. We've done this video all year. And every time that Jon Rahm has been in the field, he has been either the favorite or with Scheffler and Rory. That is not the case this week. This is the first time that I can remember you have two guys at the top, a gap to Rahm, and then a gap to everyone else. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more a reflection of where Rahm is, or if it's just, hey, Scottie Scheffler is the best player right now overall on the planet, and Rory just won. So it's hard to short Rory, right? Like it's hard to put Rory at like 11 or 12 to 1, where if he doesn't win on Sunday at the Scottish Open, I wonder what his odds are. Now, I don't think they're going to massively move, but do you think he's more of a 9-1, maybe even a 10-1 if he doesn't win?
Possibly. I think it's mostly a reflection that Jon Rahm, hasn't been doing much. He missed the cut at Travelers. He's certainly not on the pace, in January where it was, Jon Rahm's in the field, he wins. And I think we all knew that was going to regress, but it's clear that you've got a big two, and then you've got 20 or 30 guys, I think, with legitimate shots right below them. And that's where I get my cards started.
So right away, you're going to see, and we're going to bypass the top three. You've got Cam Smith. I don't know about the I know he's playing over there, but I just don't know about the elements with Cam Smith. I'm intrigued with a couple of names here. And you know that there's at least one name that I'm going to have to bring up, but where do you begin?
So there's definitely, I'm not breaking any news. There's a lot of names on our screen right now that you can click and feel good. I'm going to stick to a formula, though, that I believe, of course, a well-balanced game and particularly gaining off the tee is going to be important. Xander Schauffele. You're seeing 22-1 right here. There are some 25-1s out there. And this is a guy, he's on the list with Hovland and Cantlay and Hatton and Ricky and Fleetwood, all looking for the first major, all playing good enough to win anytime they tee it up. But I do think that Xander, he won the Scottish last year. He's shown the ability to handle everything. He's usually there. That's not the problem. It's closing. He doesn't have as many wins as maybe we think he should. But I look at the game. Off the tee is good. The putter certainly at times can really, really cooperate for us. He's been riding an insane putting streak. Heading in here, he made the cut at the Scottish, nothing notable. I'm fine with this at 25. Xander is where I got started. I thought that I might go to Hovland. I left that for you. If you're going to take it, I'm not sure you are, but there's a lot of names here.
So I'm not going to take Hovland, not because of, I don't think he fits enough specifically here that I'm looking for. Now, look, if there are no or little conditions to worry about and be concerned about, Ben, then I think Viktor Hovland is fine. We're talking about links golf with no wind, Viktor Hovland, and humongous greens where he should be able to lag fine. Like, I'm not worried about Viktor, but conditions, elements, it becomes a little bit of a concern. We've seen how rough at times the putting can be. You mentioned and stressed that as a level of importance. I'm looking at these numbers and I'm thinking, well, yeah, I don't know if this time, although Tommy Fleetwood does match up, and we talk about the flat stick, that's great. I think the guy that I want to start with here, especially because Ricky Fowler is way too high at 25-1. I can't touch him with other guys in this range. But the guy that I want to start with here, and look, you had your chance, Ben, so you can't yell at me for stealing him, is Hatton. This is a guy, when you look at strokes gained putting, when you look at three-putt avoidance, when you look at putting, especially on slower greens, when you look at lag putting on this gigantic surface that they're going to be hitting on, this is clearly a man who is familiar with the region. I think Hatton at 25-1 is a guy that I'm specifically targeting on the green. You get Hatton to the green, and I think he can distance himself from a lot of guys here. Now, to be fair, Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele are also guys that you want to keep, and Denny McCarthy. And I know we're not going to talk about him for a little bit, but those are guys that can get real good and crazy with the putter. But I'm looking at Hatton, I'm thinking from a statistical standpoint, this is a guy that I want to start with.
Yeah, Hatton was at the top of my card last week, and he gave it a run. He was there without really being there at times. Checks most of the boxes. Not in love with the number, but 25 seems pretty fair. Interesting, and I'm not overly worried. This is a rotational, and there's extreme variance with opens. But I did look at Hatton's kind of tournament history, you could call it, and it's really interesting in the sense it's an all or nothing, which lends itself to more of an outright. In the last 10 opens for him, he's got 6 missed cuts and a 51st, but then he has a 5th, a 6th, and an 11th in there. And those are more towards recent. He had a lot of missed cuts early in his career at opens. So it's boom or bust. When he doesn't like a course, he seems to hate it. And when he does, he seems to thrive. I think he's definitely matured in his game where he's able to handle more courses. I have no pushback on Hatton. I think that you're looking at him versus Fleetwood. You're looking at him versus Ricky. And those are the type of tough decisions you have to make this week.
So you're looking at the Open history over the last couple of years as far as being stronger finishes, right?
Yes,
And
definitely
I think
better lately.
yeah, and there's probably a correlation to less involved elements, right? Like we haven't seen even par, let's say, right, as like a winning score. So maybe that has helped him, and we'll see. We'll see again with the elements and how this changes things. But getting to the green, putting should be a way that you could fight back at the very least. All right, so we've got a couple of guys here. Now it gets a little interesting because there's some meat at the 30 to 30 range. So you tell me, where do we stop? Where do we stop?
I mean, I do want to give Dustin Johnson a quick shout out because Dustin Johnson, I mean, obviously he's got a couple majors in the closet already. He's a great link style player. He's been over on Live doing his thing. 10th at the US Open. He lost strokes putting. Driving distance, okay. Sign me up. 30 to 33 to 1 out there in the market. Again, you want to shop this, go to oddshopper.com. Easy way to make sure you're getting the best price. What's not to like about DJ? Again, do I think this is like, oh, this is a generational spot? No, but at 33 to 1, I know he can win. We've seen him thrive in all sorts of conditions. He was good at the Open. That was very calm last year. I'm on board with DJ this week.
Yeah, no fight on that by any means. I think he's a guy that we've seen on tour can be as popular as it gets. And it's amazing that he has just not been like everybody over there outside of Koepka. You come over, you win a major, people are going to talk. Yeah. But and I think that helps. It doesn't help somebody's odds necessarily. I'm not saying from a betting standpoint, but these guys are not being talked like people would love to hate on a guy like Patrick Reed any chance they can get, right? And it's like nobody is being discussed enough, and it's probably not talked about in the realm of a guy like DJ winning outright. So all right, 33 to 1 you said there. There's nobody else really in this range that I'm in love with, but I will play Shane Lowry. And it's not because he's a former champ, Ben. It's that you've seen in his last 3 events top 20s in each of them. The field is not easy. He has not survived, jokes of a field. He's played well. And look, this is the elements buster, right? That we think that you're geared up. To be fair, this is probably priced more to the elements not being as big of a deal because Shane Lowry is not going to play as well on most days as guys that we've mentioned, if all things are equal and there's no real wind or whatnot to mention. I mean, a guy like Schauffele, Hatton should blow him away. DJ, better, I get it. You start to creep into that wind. You start to creep into that right on the coastline there. Yeah. A couple of greens wide open. Lowry, 35, will shop it, but I just wanted to mention him before we get to some mid and deeper.
I totally get it. I think we all know that against the field, he thrives more in adverse conditions than first to 22 under wins. Not that he can't do that, but he's less likely to do that than really hold it together in the elements. So I get it. And now, to me, he's at the line, though, because after him, it falls off a cliff. Not that there can't be winners, but you're talking about it immediately goes to like 60 to 1, and it immediately opens up to all sorts of players. So for me, this is where it transitions from, I think, legitimate chances to more aggressive, like maybe I'm looking for top 20s, top 10s with a small sprinkle on an outright.
Yeah, there's a name I want to talk about real quick with you before we get it even like crazier. And just a reminder, right? Everything here, we're on DK. We're showing this just for the visual of it. We're going to tell you how to use this odds boost that DraftKings has, but we keep telling you shop, right? Odd Shopper is a good place for it. If you're in a state, New Jersey, Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, Iowa, if you're in these states and you're not on Bet365, you're doing yourself a disservice. Look, you bet $1, you get $200 right back in bet credits. You can do a lot. You can take the longest of long shots here, right? And put $1 on it. Maybe something happens, maybe something crazy. Whatever it is, $200 back. You'll find you're going to get some advantageous lines, especially in sports like golf, like NASCAR, where it's solo outrights. The discrepancy, I'm just telling you out there, we've got a link below to make it easy. So, and look, that's the easiest part is signing up. The hard part is finding the bet, getting the money, all that. We'll do that. We just want you to sign up. put that dollar in and have some fun. Max Homa. I'm not playing him at 60-1, but this is a reflection of just how bad things are for Max Homa. But remember, and it looks like this is probably more the case than not, Wyndham Clark just smashed out of not necessarily having the best stretch either. If you thought, like, this is total long shot material here, because this is long shot odds for a guy like Max Homa, but 60-1, any interest?
It's tough with a guy like that. I think you're on the right mindset. I have a similar mindset of these type of players, and maybe it is just the Wyndham Clark effect of just saying, you know what, these guys, no disrespect to the European Tour, but like, if you're playing week in and week out on the PGA, and you've shown you can beat these fields in the Genesis and the Wells Fargo type fields, you can win anywhere. And Max Homa played well last week in Scotland. He's done absolutely nothing in his Open career, but he's a much better player. I'm fine with that, but I think you can make the same argument for Sam Burns. I think you can make the same argument for Tony Finau, who's playing terrible relative to how good. I mean, Tony Finau would be 25-1 in this field, no doubt about it, if this tournament was a couple months ago, like where he was at the height of his powers. So a lot can change. I'm going to mention one more name. He's not on the card, but I think a lot of people would be interested. I don't have a ton of thoughts on Bryson, but if you believe that he can get away with it off the tee, he's always in play. The biggest gripe I have with Bryson is he going to make a snowman? Is he going to take a unplayable where he screws up a hole so badly he can't claw back? Because if he avoids that, we have seen him take apart courses with one element, and that element is just, I'm going to carry the hazards and I'll deal with the rest with my wedges.
One bad hole, it starts to mentally unravel, and then you misjudge what you can do off the tee, and instead of clearing a fairway bunker that needs to carry 300 yards, you hit the ball 56 yards hard right, and you hear, "Oh my God!" And you just you look at your ticket on your phone, and you're just like, this is it. But you're right. Like, nobody has the ability at their best. I mean, maybe Rahm, guys like that, but not many have their ability. I mean, this is like humongous power, and you can get away with it, especially as we mentioned at the top, the course was lengthened. All right. Real quick. Any interest in some, because that's it. Like, you're not going any.
I got one more name.
I'm in. Okay, let me throw, before you close out, I am intrigued. I'll probably play him top 10, top 20, but I am intrigued. Look, par 4, par 5 scoring, longer par 4, par 5 scoring. There are a couple of holes on that front 9, that short 4, and then the short 5, where you can eagle in if you're hitting and striking the ball. I understand that Hideki is not hurt anymore, and that we've seen some glimpses. He's kind of stepped back a little bit too, struggled at times. This is a huge field. 70-1, I'm willing to take a shot. Maybe not so much at his outright, Ben, but at his prices that come off the 70-1 long shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, and listen, you miss a cut, you miss a cut. I'm not going to spin it, but he missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage. I'm not sure that he was overly thrilled to be that, it's the Rocket Mortgage. So I'm fine with Decky. You're just blindly backing talent. I'm going to do the same thing, but unlike with Decky, where I see a lot of merit to like a top 20 or a top 40, I think that Justin Thomas is more of an outright or leave him off the card, because the downside with Justin Thomas lately is just straight miscut. He's playing absolutely awful. I'm not saying that he's fixed. In fact, I don't think he is, but he is 80-1. And this is a multiple major winner. This is a guy that just a couple weeks ago was top 10 at the Travelers, where he gained a ton with the ball striking. I don't think that Justin Thomas should be 80-1 in any field, no matter how bad he's playing.
Absolutely agree. This is, again, I mean, this is like the extreme version of what we talked about with Homa, where it's just, if he could turn this around, he's Justin Thomas, and he's won on a high stage, and It's just such a down spot period for him. And we know, anybody who's played or knows or watches this game, it's difficult. It's not as easy to pull out like a slump in baseball or anything else going on. Like golf is crazy, and you can see what it does to you mentally. Anybody top 40 you see on here plus money? I slid in Denny McCarthy at -110 just off the putter. On the way out, any top 40 you like here?
Yeah, I mean, Neiman is a guy, you got him clicked in there that I totally get. If you want just like a random name, I go with Thorborn Olesen right there. You're talking almost 2-1. Again, you want to shop this. This is just a guy, he's got a lot of talent. We've seen it. He can really score. He was 25th in Scotland just last week. He doesn't have the greatest results, but he plays in the Open basically not every year, but he's been in plenty of Opens. He's got a 12th. He's got a 9th over the career. He can score. He's a Euro, obviously. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, before we go, there is the odds boost, the +300 on any golfer to win the Open. We've talked about this. I'm very adamant that if you're going to use that boost, you want to go with one of the favorites just to maximize how good +300 is. Because if you add 3-1 to a guy that's 100-1, it's far less impactful than adding it to, say, Rory.
Right. Absolutely. And I think looking at the top, we kind of hinted at this. I think there are two maybe clear pathways to go with your +300 odds boost that you'll find on DraftKings. Yep. And Ben, it's at the top. It's probably going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're looking at boosting and adding 300 here, it's probably going to be either Scotty or Rahm. Your guy being left out in this.
I'm not leaving Rory out.
Well, I gotta leave. You have to choose one, right? Like we each get to choose one guy to boost. I'll tell you what, to be completely honest with you, right? Like I'll let you choose up here at the top. All right. I'm going to get this out of the way. I think I can still toe a line here, and say, all right, if I get Brooks Koepka at 21-1 in this field, as well as he's playing and can play at a major, I'll boost Koepka. Shander will boost Koepka to 21-1.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing, of course, is you have to shop this, because if you boost Brooks Koepka to 21-1 and then you go to another book and he's 21-1 or 22-1, you have done nothing.
You've done nothing. Correct.
Now, Rory, to me, he's 7-1 here. I have not seen better than that. So I know that if I get Rory 10-1, I have done something. That doesn't mean, if his break even is 12-1, you've just made a bad bet less bad. That's not going to get it done. But if it's an efficient line and you like Rory, I see no him and Scheffler to me are, it's just dealer's choice. I like Rory. Give me Rory at 10-1 for the boost.
Absolutely love it. All right. Thumbs up, subscribe on your way out. We'll do everything here. Winners, right. Top 40s, even how to use the boost. All right. That's a massive card for you. Ben, any final, as I run back the bottom to our boosts here, right? And then top 40s, as I run this back, any final words? They're all yours.
No, as always, listen, it's an awesome golf week. There's plenty of content here. If you have questions, though, and you want more, at Shander Show, at JazzRazDFS on Twitter, we're around. We're hanging out. We're sweating the bets. We're happy to answer the questions. We just want to grow the Odd Shopper community. Thanks to you guys, we've done just that all season. So let's put a W on the board in a major. What do you say? On the way out, let's put one on the board at the Open Championship.
Eric Cole's not in the field.
So no, mercifully.
We'll see you.